Hi, Filmatics. Welcome to the show. Thanks for tuning in. Today we have a special guest, Tony Dean Smith. He is a writer director known for the award winning grounded science feature film, Volition. Welcome to the show, Tony.
Thanks so much, Marilyn. Yes, it's the Volition is our grounded science fiction feature that came out in the last year during everything that was shut down, and very happy to be supporting it and seeing it, come to life in the world out there. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, and can you let our audience, most of us already know, but can you tell us what volition means?
Yeah, I can tell you what it means in a bit of the synopsis as it relates to the word, but volition means free will, the ability to recognize that you are a free agent in the world. And so our movie is actually about a character who's a psychic, he's a clairvoyant, and he's always been able to see ahead of himself in his life, but only through his vision. You can't see like what you're going to do or what the other guy's going to do, only his own life. And he sees it out of order and in snippets. And along the story, as it sort of gets going, he has a vision of his own murder. He's involved in some sort of petty crime, and because of his ability, he's sort of just coasted by. And finally, for the first time ever, one of his visions, he knows, because we've set it all up, will come true. But he doesn't believe he has free will. He doesn't believe that any of us have free will, that all of our lives are actually predetermined in many ways, and we just don't know it yet. So it's this real struggle about him battling against fate and free will, and ultimately, you'll have to see the movie, but rising above and pushing through those fears that very often a lot of us, retreat from. So that's the movie.
Yeah, it sounds amazing. And so, and our audience, I have a special treat. Tony Dean is going to give us his world debut of his song today acoustically. So please, I'm so excited for you guys to listen to that in a few. But I just wanted to say, Tony, where are you zooming in with me today in our audience?
I am satelliting in or zooming in, whatever we're doing in today's age. I am in Vancouver, British Columbia, and we're sort of locked down, pretty much like the rest of the world. Crazy, scary time, of course. So you're pretty much isolated, in my apartment.
So you're from British Columbia, Canada. Wow. So is it snowing there, or because we are recording in the end of January? So
right. Today is actually the forecast. It's supposed to snow today for the first time. It hasn't yet, so we'll see. The whole global warming is changing things. Even here, it never used to snow, but now it snows in March. Like in Vancouver, it used to be spring in that time. So something is shifting certainly, and we're not there yet. So no snow just yet.
Yeah. So we're film addicts here, and I want to know, growing up, what was one of your favorite childhood films?
Yeah, great question. Well, I grew up in South Africa. I was born in Johannesburg, right in the smack. Yeah, right in the middle of the ugly times of the apartheid. To some very progressive parents, and so our movies were like that, just always American, always very progressive and future leaning. And so one of my favorite films when I was a kid, like everybody, I actually had two, which is funny because you talked about my music, which is something I do as a hobby. But the two films that really influenced me when I was really young was E.T., Steven Spielberg's E.T., and it was the zeitgeist of the time, certainly. And I just remember being a kid and thinking that, like, if these two beings can get along, then certainly the rest of us can. And just how life affirming that movie was. And at the same time, I also loved Grease with John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John. And I think that's where I got my music bug, because I wanted to be, I wanted to be Danny Zuko. So there you go.
Danny Zuko. Grease is the word. Nice.
Yes, Grease is the word. There you go.
Well, and also, you were talking about, can you share some of that with, like, I know, because you're music, you love music. But you like the Baz Luhrmann film, and a little bit, can you talk about Pink Floyd The Wall? Because I actually danced to Pink Floyd The Wall in my high school. We had a wall, and all the dancers broke through the wall on our stage. So when I saw that, I go, oh, I can't wait for him to talk about that.
That's amazing. There you go. Some kindred spirits. Yeah, for me, I love cinema for many, many reasons. But the stuff that moves me the most, that I want to direct, is the more lyrical side of cinema. Kubrick, for example, was very abstract and metaphorical, and he would allow all the space that music would fill, and that would allow the audience to subconsciously take in these deeper meanings. And then it goes to, like, Baz Luhrmann, who directed, Romeo and Juliet, the Shakespeare, version that he did in the 90s, Moulin Rouge, Strictly Ballroom. Just a guy, a filmmaker who was just very alive with his camera. It wasn't, I love comedy. I love all kind of movies, but I like moving my camera, and I love it to be a participant in the dance of the movie. And so a film like Pink Floyd The Wall, it contains for me all these deep themes about like what it is to be human, to be isolated, to be fearful, to start building up psychological walls, which we all do in different ways as teenagers and as adults. And then what's it going to take for those walls to start coming down? And then you add it with Pink Floyd's music. It's, God, it's just the perfect combination of, I think, all the things that I love. And so, Alan Parker directed that, and he's such a fabulous director. And, I would never want to remake that because it's such a classic, but if there's any movie I would want to remake, might be The Wall.
Oh my gosh, that would be something. And
Sacrilege.
yeah, so because you're a director writer, and you were talking about because I love Criterion movies and just spectacular movies, but so you were talking about Stanley Kubrick, but can you talk a little bit about that and how these movies that inspired you, influenced you to go on your career path?
Yeah, I think South Africa, first of all, growing up in a very politically wrought time period left a mark on me, certainly. And then a filmmaker like Kubrick, who was able to tackle some bigger subject matter. For whatever reason, I'm more of almost like a philosopher than a slice of life type of person. And so the movies that I like happen to be the ones that have the biggest ideas. Why are we here? Where do we go after, if we go anywhere? And all of my films actually all deal with death actually on some level, which is crazy to now look back and think about that. But even the short films I did when I was a teenager were all about ghosts and crossing over and transitioning. And funnily enough, even the song that I'm singing today, it's about coming to grips with loss and grief and moving on. So Kubrick, I don't know. I guess because he wasn't just telling a slice of life story, he was telling these bigger movies with bolder ideas. For me, that's what I wanted to do, and it's not so easy doing that in today's age because they don't make Kubrick films anymore. But Volition. If anyone likes Christopher Nolan, Volition has been compared to his films the most because they're esoteric. They're esoteric science fiction in a way. Yes, they're housed in a thriller like Volition is. It's a thriller, but there's always a bigger idea going on. And so that's what I like.
That's quite a compliment, Tony. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow, Christopher Nolan. I can't wait to see this movie. Yeah. Where can someone see this movie? I know we usually wait till the end of the program, but I already want to go watch this movie. Thriller, science fiction, Christopher Nolan, Tony Dean Smith. I mean, come on, tell us where we can see that. So I think we might have lost contact. Let's see if we can get Tony back. Let's see. Oh, there he is. Hi, Tony. Think we lost you for a little bit, but we were saying where.
Okay, good. We're back.
Yeah. So sorry, our audience is used to interference. But so where can they see Volition at? Is it where can they see that?
So Volition, it came out in July of 2020. It was going to have a little theatrical run, but of course shut down because of COVID, rightfully so. So it's streaming everywhere right now as far as the pay-per-view services. So you can get it on Apple TV, Google, Xbox, everywhere, Microsoft. And then very, very soon in the near future, I can't say where it's going to land, but it's going to land at a very happy home. And that'll be in the next couple months. So meanwhile, they can go to VolitionTheMovie.com. It's VolitionTheMovie.com, and all the links are there where you can find the movie.
Oh, great. And yeah, so also, since you're a director, we love learning about directors and talking. Can you tell us some of your favorite director and your favorite film shot or a film shot that you've done? Because we love when directors talk about that here, especially.
Yeah, God, there's so many, and it's so funny. We've all been trained as directors to, throw out your loves, throw out your babies. And so there's so many shots that I love so much that I've actually cut out of my own films through the years. God, favorite shots, favorite directors. There's almost like too many obvious ones. Obviously, you can see Scorsese and all the crazy, beautiful wonders he does. I'm trying to think
You
of
were doing
something
the
just.
Steven Spielberg, because I love E.T. too. I mean, Goonies,
Yeah,
E.T. I mean, just
yeah,
tears as a kid, you know.
yeah. No, exactly. I mean, he's got, especially Spielberg, the most iconic shots you would argue that have been put onto film, where you can just see the kid in the doorway with the alien light behind the door. All the shots from Jaws, against Roy Scheider as we push in. I think I've probably tried to rip off every single one of his shots, as we all have as filmmakers. It's interesting, very often in the films that I've done recently, we're serving the story so truthfully and also serving the schedule that like very often we have to like throw out our very fancy shots and almost only just pick and choose very carefully. That's the stuff that I'm doing these days.
But you were telling me about the Schindler's List shot. Can you
Oh
describe that
yes,
for our audience? Because I think that's so special, and especially if
yeah.
you're a director, so we'd love to hear that.
Yes, thank you for reminding me. Yeah, that. So there's a scene in Schindler's List which is such a hard film to watch. It's the only film he just did not storyboard a shot list at all. He wanted to go on set in Poland and just feel the raw emotions. And he's such a good director that he is very confident, in his choices as far as where's the master, where's the medium, where's the close up. I actually find that relates to music a lot as well. I often say that for myself too. In my early Spielberg training, I don't have to shot list or storyboard either anymore for some of the more simple stuff, because you always know that like a key moment is going to be in a close up, and a less key moment might be in the medium. And so it doesn't matter what your location is, you'll always know that like you'll eventually drive into those key moments. So getting back to Spielberg, there's this one scene where it's a little boy who has to clean a bathtub in this really grungy room, and he's getting berated by a sergeant, a Nazi, for not cleaning it properly. And every other ordinary human being would probably shoot that in 5 to 7 shots, and Spielberg did it in one, but not like a oneer that's fancy. He did it in the most like earthy, organic, uncomfortable way possible, where the camera was almost in the room, and just with little pans, little tilts, and then finally one step forward into a mirror. Spielberg got about like 12 to 15 shots with one camera. And it's a real lesson, I think, for filmmakers to realize that, and especially for even like editors like me who think they can just edit their problems away. The best tools you have is the pan and the tilt, before even getting to the dolly or any of the moves. Because if you think about even where you're looking right now, if you stare ahead, you're looking at let's say the computer. Pan to the left, all of a sudden I have a plant in front of me. And now if I lean forward, I've dollied forward. And then if I look to the right, in a way, I've done a whole camera move just in my head. And I think that training continually is inspiring to me, and it's very subtle, brilliant oneer. So there
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah, the single shot that he did there, of the boy washed in the bathtub in that scene, like you said,
Mm-hmm.
it paid off, and I'm really glad that you explained it, because the way you explained it was so generous, and educational for our filmmakers here that are listening. And and also you said your favorite scene in the movie, the ET.
Yep, yep. It still breaks my heart. Yeah, it's the end of ET, and it's the journey that these two, these isolated, lonely individuals, create this incredible bond. They empathize with each other. They were selfless with each other, and in the end, they both know that like this can't last forever. And Elliot says stay, and ET says come, and then ET says, I'll be right here, and lights his finger and lights really, I think, hearts across the world, and I could cry right now thinking about it. And it's so, I just think it's so like, it goes beyond the characters. I think it's archetypal and mythical, actually. The idea that even our love, or even our parents, no one's going to be here forever. The idea that I'll be right here in your heart if you feel me is, again, like I'm saying right now, I'm stumbling and stuttering because I'm about to cry. That's how I know.
Yeah. before we have your music debut, which I want to get to, just tell us a little bit how you started, writing and directing, and and then
Sure.
and I can't wait to hear your music.
Sure. Yeah. I've been doing it since again I was a kid in South Africa. I liberated my father's video camera from his closet and just started to experiment with my siblings. I have three younger siblings, and I enrolled them into my little. Unfortunately, it was more like a dictatorship than like an ensemble because I was the boss, and they had to listen, and it's all on tape. So, so I think I just started to, for the love of it, just play around with emulating my heroes, and I started to notice very early that there was such a thing, and I never knew the term, but shots were different sizes, like comic books. It would go from a wide of a door to a close up of the handle to a medium of the door open to a medium close up of the guy's face coming through the door, and I would, because I wasn't an editor and didn't have editing equipment, I would make all those choices in camera. So I would know to like roll for 3 seconds as the door started to open, then cut, and then get the door in the exact same position, roll camera on the wide shot of the same thing, and slowly just I think making those choices got me to be maybe just a little bit unafraid of making mistakes and then learning from them. And I think that's probably the thing I can say the most is that I became very actually comfy with those mistakes, where by the time I got to film school, which was right after high school, I always said that I'd made so many elementary mistakes that by the time I got to film school, I was able to make more advanced mistakes. And my instructors noticed, they noticed that I was, refined in certain areas. But, like we all know, which I'm always happy to talk about it and then hear someone else talk to, we're always learning, and so from then on, I made a short film that did really well. The Directors Guild funded. It was a 35 mil film that kind of launched my career up in Canada and got me directing some TV shows. The short film was about a young family who loses their daughter, and the father feels responsible for it. And then a couple of years after the loss, he starts to feel her presence in the house, and he starts to, I don't know, just feel that something, she's trying to tell him something. But to the doctors and to his wife, he's showing signs of, just fragility and maybe even mental illness. And then ultimately it's a film about redemption, and actually, it's a spiritual film. There's actually something very affirming about what the film says about what might be on the other side. And then, I don't know, I just kept, there's some for hire gigs, which have been fantastic. Again, like some for hire television directing. But really it's about my own personal work. And so Volition took me a little while to get off the ground. I actually pretty much quit directing for a little while because I didn't want to direct anything that I didn't write or develop. And, that I always knew I would reevaluate that decision, and I still am. Because I think you just, you can pour yourself into anything and make it authentic as long as you find the love within it. So,
yeah, can you tell us the funny story about Evolution? You had your actors in fake blood, and police actually pulled you over. I mean, oh my god.
Yeah. So our Volition is an independent film, so there's a lot of corners that were cut because we, it's not a Hollywood budget. We couldn't afford every permit. We had permits for pretty much everything, but this one night we needed to have our actor drive the picture car, this kind of really cool broken down Cadillac through the streets. And so we mounted a big light on the hood of the car, mounted the camera on the car. We had another camera inside the car with myself, the cinematographer, and our actor. And our actor was covered with blood. And so we're driving along, and we knew, we had to try to be as low profile as possible, but we were literally on a freeway. We needed a freeway shot. So we're driving, and cameras are rolling, actors are acting. Adrian Glenn McMorran is our actor. He was acting. And all of a sudden, in the camera, we can start to detect these blue and red lights. And we're like, oh, no. And sure enough, right behind us, the cops, got the blinking lights. They pull us over. And I start to panic because I realize that not only do we not have a permit, and my producer, who's my brother, Ryan W. Smith, who's also the co-writer of the film, he wasn't there. But also in my bag, I had a prop gun. Not a real gun, but a prop gun. But still, no permits for any of this. So you got a bloody guy, a gun, and a camera on a car. And anyway, the cops pulled us over, and I told him what was going on. I mean, I just remember his face, first of all, coming to the car and just how alarmed he was. Like, gentlemen, what's going on here? I mean, he could tell the light. He could see very quickly what was going on. So I stepped out of the vehicle and chatted with them, and we had a really great chat. And I mean, it's unbelievable, but like they supported it. They loved it. They're like, wow, good for you guys for being entrepreneurs and like making this yourself. And not only were they then going to let us go, they said, would you like an escort on your route? And they escorted us for the remainder of the probably half hour of shooting until we got home.
That's a great story. Yeah.
It's a good story in the end. Yeah.
You had your whole family on there, your sister and was involved. Who was the AD? The sister or the brother?
Yeah, the sister. My sister was the first AD. She's the one just underneath me, and she's a drama teacher and a school teacher and a theater performer. So she's used to wrangling, lots of children. These were just bigger children that she had to wrangle, but no problem for her.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
and then my other sister, was the caterer.
Oh, nice. That's so great.
But yeah, a family affair. We just decided that come hell or high water, this movie needed to be made. And we had a lot of interest, from the States, some companies that wanted to make it with us, but they wanted to change so many things. And we just knew that, this was our one shot to do something that we get to live and die by our choices. And so in the end, lucky enough, we found some private financing. We partnered with Mallie Productions, and the rest was really just a family affair, as they say.
I love that. And then I would love to debut your song. This is going to be a world debut, his first time. And do you want to share anything before you sing? And
sure. So this is the debut. This is the first time I've done this. Let's see. It's a song that's just really near and dear to my heart. And like I said before, it's about letting love in, and then ultimately knowing that nothing is forever, and even love is ephemeral, but it does stay within your heart. So, originally based on my cat who passed away a long time ago. So, yeah, but it's for other humans too, and certainly during, I think, this where we are now with COVID and everything we're dealing with. I hope some people feel it and it helps them in some way. Okay, ready for it? Of course, if I make mistakes, I'll blame, me. Okay, who's nervous? Me? You? Just me, right? Okay.
We're ready.
Here we go. There we go. I had no other love that I can think of but you. It's about a girl who came in my world, and she said to me, oh yeah, that all her fears and her dreams were mine. And through the years we'd spend the time. And then one day she just said she'd like to stay, and I said, hey, stay. Magic in her hair and in her smile. I'm gonna be the one to take a while. Sorry, but I'm not all perfect. I'm gonna be the one to take it slow. And then one day she just said to me, she closed her eyes and she came to me, that all this time she just knew she'd have to go. And I said, no, don't go. No, no. Now, the corner of my bed, deep inside my head, she still comes to me. And when I dream, even though she's gone, I know she's not far from home anymore. And then one day when she comes to me, with my eyes closed, she says to me, Even though she's gone, she's not far from home. And I said, oh, oh.
Tony, oh my gosh, Tony Dean Smith. That is so beautiful. Somebody sign him right now. Where could they get that? Are you on Apple or Spotify musically?
Well, again, I'm a closeted musician who is finally pulling himself deep out of the recess of that darkened hole. YouTube right now is the only place. You can look under Tony Dean. There's a few Tony Deans, so just look for me. That if you look up Tony Dean Betty, the Taylor Swift song, you'll definitely find me. Otherwise, yeah, stay tuned. There is a Spotify artist channel coming, and it's a side thing. I'm very much a filmmaker. Again, I love the bigger ideas, but there's something about songwriting that is just so present, and without the rigmarole of like 2 years of losing your hair and getting wrinkles over writing something. So yeah, it's just something that I like to do, and so I appreciate you saying that. Thank you for having me sing it. So
I wish I grew up with the TikTok generation, because I'm like, oh wow, they just have to make little short films, and you don't have,
know.
Yeah, and they're
exactly.
And they're between 100,000-aires and millionaires, and like I'm older than all of you guys, so I'm like, a scripted format takes years and years, and novels take more. Right? Writers were all just going, I wish we were TikTok stars because it's so much easier.
I know. I was looking at it today, and it's like it actually changes your brain. Where like you're not thinking about like a 2-year or a 2-hour movie or a series. You're like, oh, what's this like 60-second brilliant thing I can do? It's such a different mindset. I don't know if it's a good thing. I don't know if it's a good thing.
Well, I'm attempting for some TikTok. I'm at Maryland Artist. I got like 300 views, and like I got like 15 followers. So hard out to my 15 followers. Love you.
Yeah, I'll follow you. I'm on TikTok now too. I'm joining the party.
I'm in, but I'm so busy because I produce 5 podcasts, and then I'm pitching everyone. But Tony, I find you spectacular as a writer and director. You're just so elegant. I'm so happy to have you on the show. And the singer, I'm gonna have to tell my friend Mark about you. He's the chairman of AMG. I'm like, Mark, sign this guy. He's so great. He's like, he's gonna come on the show too. But we're all, so many people are busy, and then I've literally been busy. So I'm glad to have you on the show, because everyone in COVID, like, I'm so glad that you're writing and singing, because that is just, I think it's so beautiful. And I'm so grateful that you premiered that on the show, because I think our audience is going to love that. Wait, and can you tell us about, you've been home, can you tell us what your mastering your snack is, please?
Oh my God. My snack?
Yeah, the peanut.
Mastering my snack. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I mean, it's a state secret here. I don't know if I'm very comfortable about this, but it's like the $1 million. I'm sure everyone's done it. It's the Dr. Evil cliche. The secret is just, a little bit of, well, first of all, you've got to toast, your bread, and then just a decent amount of peanut butter, and then a very light touching of Nutella. And then you have what I like to call heaven on a plate or something. I don't really call it that, but it sounds like that, doesn't it?
Yeah, you're talking to an Italian here. There's no little scoop of Nutella on anything. It's like a whole big dollop of Nutella.
Well, that's good, because I was kind of, that was the healthier version. We've done some big dollops as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just such a pleasure to have you on our show. And I just want to make sure, like, can you just, COVID affect your arts? You've been writing and singing, and you're probably writing. So so they can you just share real quick where they can catch your film and keep up with you before we say ciao?
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, like everyone else, I've been at home isolated, and I think music is one of the only things that's keeping me sane. Luckily that I've kind of gone through the bad eating phase, and now I'm doing well, and I've lost weight. I'm actually down to like really where I should be. But it's been a tough year, I think, for everybody. They say like you've either like gone through a weight loss or a breakup or this and that. I've gone through the breakup, not comfortable, ultimately beautiful and very amicable. But I think all of that just feeds the artist and feeds my emotions. And I only write songs when I'm upset. So there you go. It's perfect.
So VOLITIONthemovie.com. We're about to be out of time. And at Tony Dean Smith on Twitter and all social media. And music is on Tony Dean on YouTube. Thank you for being on the show, Tony Dean.
Thank you so much, Marilyn.
You're welcome.